finally agreeing to an interview.
Hey, Mackenzie.
Hello, Secretary. How are you?
Department of Juvenile Services Secretary Vincent Schiraldi facing questions stemming from the frustration from community members, school leaders, and elected officials alike. Secretary Schiraldi says he knows the intake process and has spent time with the people making those decisions.
And so how do you explain situations where we have seen play out where a juvenile is brought to an intake facility and decisions are made that we have police are arguing that that wasn't correct, community members and even state's attorney's offices are saying that a juvenile should not have been released to their guardian?
Well, every time a kid is released, first of all, it's not us, right? Police have release powers, we do, state's attorneys do, and judges do. So there are times when young people are released to the community and people just think it's DJS that did it, that it's not.
He says ankle monitors have been used for years on young people and pushes back on the notion that they aren't working.
They're working 94.6% of the time, so 19 out of 20 times. It's easy to, in the rear view mirror, say, oh, something happened, this system must not be working. But if you put that 19 kids that didn't reoffend in detention, what would happen is they tend to get more hardened.
What do you say to the families of these victims and the victims themselves who say that this isn't working and that your policies are prioritizing the safety and protection of the offenders as opposed to them and their families in the community?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that, Mackenzie, because it's exactly why I'm talking to you and talking to so many other media, which is I want people to at least understand the way this works. I think there's a lot of misunderstanding out there. A family whose loved one has been harmed may or may not be, happy with what I'm saying right now, but I want them at least to understand that we are trying to improve public safety. We're trying to do it by holding kids accountable and by turning their lives around and rehabilitating them. And that most often that's working well.
What does accountability look like to you?
Well, if my child was put on an electronic monitor and arrested for a crime, that would at least be some measure of accountability. If my child was detained, that would also be a measure of accountability. And I think what we need to do is say, how severe is what this kid did? How severe is their prior record? And then make judgments.
Secretary Schiraldi says there has been a 20% increase of juveniles in custody, calling that statistic proof that his policies are working.
I don't think that's a catch and release policy. There are lots of kids that get detained. There are some kids that get put on electronic monitoring, and there are some kids that go home. And most of the time, but not all of the time, because nothing's 100%, they don't reoffend.
I think that the community members who have been victimized by these kids who continue to reoffend would certainly disagree with you on that, Mr. Secretary.
I've been victimized by violent crime, I've been victimized by sexual crime, and I've been victimized by property crime. And I absolutely empathize with people who have been the victims of crime and their family. That's why I work every day to help reduce crime and improve public safety.
Amid growing calls for the secretary to resign, including an online citizens petition,
how would you grade your job performance at this point?
I think it's actually other people's job to grade me.
I'm asking you right now, how would you grade yourself?
And I'm answering you. I think it's other people's job to grade me. And I think that my job is to come to work every single day, trying to hold kids accountable, rehabilitate them, and improve public safety. So thank you, Mackenzie. I appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
This interview with Secretary Schiraldi did answer some of our questions, but it also renewed some of our previous questions and will continue to demand answers from elected and appointed leaders. In the newsroom, Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
I'm Kai Jackson. Thank you for watching. Here's another video to watch. Also, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel.